So besides work and with your spouse, there's also assertive communication with your kids. And a lot of it is the same. Focus on the positive. You are teaching your kid how to ask for attention. So if you are constantly focusing on what goes wrong, what they do bad, and punish them for bad behavior, then they learn to ask attention in that way. But if you switch that around and you are only rewarding positive behavior and focus on the positive, then they will learn how to ask attention in a positive way. And you will already see, like, if you start to be more assertive and you stop worrying and losing so much energy over things that you cannot control, then there's such an amount of energy that you have left. And coming home from work or coming home from wherever with energy and happy and fulfilled and confident will have such a good and empowering influence on your relationship with your kid. But then, like always, sometimes your kid doesn't listen or does something that needs to be stopped or corrected. And then being assertive, and with assertive communication, it's the same thing, that you shouldn't be depending on the choice or the action that your kid does in order to make you feel better or to feel good. What you do is you give them an option. So for example, he doesn't want to clean up his toys. And what you do is that you can start rewarding good behavior. So you give them two choices. Either they don't clean up the toys and you have to do it, and then they don't go for ice cream, for example, like later that day. Or he cleans up the toys, you will have a nice afternoon together, and you will all go for ice cream. And leave it at that. There's no conflict, there's no discussion, these two are the options. And then he can decide. And maybe the first time he will choose not to clean up the toys because he will test you. And then he will see, or she will see, that you are going to follow through with it. And then the next time he will make a better decision. And what you do is, like, you again will only focus on the positive. So not trying to make him clean or clean up the toys. But if you have more children and who are behaving well, then you have all the attention and focus on that behavior, the good behavior. And the other thing is, you might notice that always end with the choice that you want the kid to take. So by default, we always say, like, or you clean up and you have ice cream, or you don't and you go to your room. But the last one is always the most powerful one, and always that he hears the best. So always start with, if you don't clean up your toys, you go to your room, or you don't go for ice cream, or you clean it up and we'll have this nice afternoon together and we'll go for ice cream at the end of the day. So, and then again, you have to control always the reward or the punishment, like, is in your control. So you don't have to pick them up and put them in the room or take their hand and clean up the toys. No, it's their decision. They can do it. So that's one. And then the second one is to deal with failures. What you see now is that they talk a lot, like, about the millennials that grew up and not being able to deal with failures or rejection. Because what happens is you always look, if somebody's sad, to cheer them up quickly, instantly, that instant gratification. But what happens is that is so bad for the development, because they don't learn how to deal with a setback or with a rejection or failure. So instead of, like, trying to cheer them up right away by come up with excuses or blaming somebody else, try to go through the process with your kid. What went wrong? What can they do differently the next time? It's not a permanent result. It doesn't say anything about them, like with the fixed mindset. Teach them how to have a growth mindset. That maybe today it didn't go as well as hoped, but how can we make sure the next time it will go better? Because then they learn how to take responsibility, and they learn how to deal with that negative emotion of failure, rejection, or a setback. So always, like, coach and support your kid, and never take that learning opportunity, that experience away from him or her, but always coach them and go through it together and help them. And then the last one for assertive communication is always to focus on the behavior. Never tell them that he or she is a bad kid, but always that you are not approving the behavior or an action. Always tell them, I love you, but what you do right now, I cannot approve. I need you to. And then the behavior that you expect from them. But never go after the child as a whole, but always accept the child and reject the action or the behavior.